Hey guys, tonight we dive into the wildest slumber party Olympus ever threw where Ares, the god of war, gets his feathers ruffled in a pillow fight against Eros, the pint-sized love god with a smirk that could melt bronze. Picture this. You're sprawled on a cloud-soft couch in a starry hall, the air thick with jasmine and the clink of ambrosia glasses. Gods are laughing, their voices echoing off marble pillars, and there's a pile of pillows that looks suspiciously like it's plotting something. You're about to witness a brawl so absurd, you probably won't survive this without snorting your bedtime tea. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in the heart of Olympus, where the air hums with divine energy, like static before a storm. The gods are restless, their usual debates about who gets the best temple or whose mortal fan base is bigger growing stale. Ares, all muscle and menace, stomps into the hall, his war helm glinting under the torchlight. His voice booms, demanding a challenge to shake off the boredom. You can practically smell the leather of his armor, mixed with that faint metallic tang of blood he never quite shakes. He's the god of war, after all, born to brawl, not to lounge. Historical fact, Ares was worshipped in ancient Greece as a symbol of raw, chaotic combat, with temples in Sparta dedicated to his brutal glory. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some fringe myths claim his war cries were once mistaken for a flock of angry geese, which, let's be honest, tracks with his vibe tonight. The hall buzzes as gods toss out ideas. Athena suggests a chess match, but Ares scoffs too cerebral. Poseidon pitches a trident throwing contest, but no one trusts him not to flood the place. Then, from a corner draped in rose petals, Eros pipes up, his voice all honey and mischief. How about a pillow fight? He says, twirling an arrow like it's a fidget spinner. You catch the glint in his eye, and your gut twists. Eros isn't just the god of love. He's a master of making fools fall hard. The crowd roars with laughter, but Ares, never one to back down, slams his fist on a table, cracking it clean in half. Done. He bellows, and you wince, knowing this is going to be a mess. You shuffle closer, dodging a nymph juggling glow-in-the-dark figs. Yeah, Olympus parties get weird. The pillows are stacked like a fortress, each one fluffed to perfection. But you notice some shimmer with a faint golden glow. Historians still argue whether Eros could enchant objects or just hearts. But those pillows? They're giving serious, cursed IKEA energy. You lean against a column, the marble cool, against your back, and watch Ares size up his opponent. Eros, barely taller than a stack of 3 amphorae, grins like he's already won. You can't help but chuckle. Ares thinks this'll be a quick KO, but you're betting on the kid with the dimples. The rules are simple. No weapons, no divine powers, supposedly, just pillows and pride. First to knock the other down wins. You glance at the crowd Apollos strumming a lyre, hyping the vibe, while Demeter's passing out popcorn, made of actual corn kernels puffed by Hephaestus' forge. The energy's electric, but there's a softness to it, like the gods are leaning into the absurdity of it all. You sink into the moment, the scent of ambrosia curling around you, and feel the weight of your own eyelids. This is Olympus at its most unhinged, and you're front row for the chaos. Ares cracks his knuckles, each pop like a war drum. He grabs a pillow, swinging it like it's a battle axe, and you can't help but smirk. Dudes treating this like Thermopylae. Eros, meanwhile, skips forward, his wings fluttering just enough to stir the air. You catch a whiff of his rosewater cologne, and it's so strong you're half tempted to sneeze. The crowd chants, a mix of Ares, and giggles for Eros. You're not sure who you're rooting for yet, but the vibe's contagious. Joke 1. Why does Ares always lose at board games? Because he eats the pieces when he's mad. You stifle a laugh, knowing he'd probably eat a Monopoly board into the sticks dot as the countdown begins. You feel the floor vibrate under your feet, like Olympus itself is holding its breath. 3, 2, 1, and the pillows fly. Feathers burst like a snowstorm, and you duck as a stray one nearly smacks your face. Ares is all in, charging like a bull, while Eros dances around him, light as a breeze. You're hooked, your heart racing, but the SMR cadence of the night's soft cheers, rustling feathers starts to lull you. This is just the beginning, and already you're wondering how Ares, the ultimate tough guy, is about to get schooled by a kid who probably invented the heart eyes emoji. You're still reeling from the chaos of that first pillow toss, feathers drifting around you like a dreamy blizzard on Olympus. The hall pulses with divine energy, and you're wedged between a satyr munching on glow-in-the-dark figs and a nymph, who's definitely betting on Eros. The air smells of jasmine and ambrosia, with a hint of Ares' leather armor cutting through, because, of course, he's still wearing half his war gear for a pillow fight. You lean forward, eyes locked on Eros, who's darting around like he's auditioning for a divine ballet. This section's all about the love god's cunning plan, and trust me, you're about to see why Eros is the ultimate schemer. Eros twirls a pillow, his wings fluttering just enough to stir a breeze that makes your hair tickle your neck. You notice his smirk sharp, like he's already 3 moves ahead. He's not just here to play. He's here to win, and he's got a plan brewing that's sneakier than a Trojan horse. You catch a glimpse of his quiver, tucked behind a rose-draped column, and spot something odd, a tiny vial of golden liquid glinting in the torchlight. Historical fact: Eros, known as Cupid in Roman myths, was often depicted in ancient art with a bow and arrows that could spark love or chaos, sometimes both. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some lesser-known Greek stories claim he once brewed a love potion so potent it made a cyclops propose to a boulder. Yeah, that's the kind of wild card you're dealing with. You shift your weight, the marble floor cool under your feet, and watch Eros whisper to a pair of giggling cherubs. They're his wingman, pun intended, and they're scurrying off to who knows where. You're pretty sure they're not just grabbing snacks. Eros' plan hinges on outsmarting Ares, who's currently swinging his pillow like it's a warhammer, oblivious to the fact he's being played. You can't help but grin. It's like watching a lion get outfoxed by a butterfly. Historians still argue whether Eros' powers were purely emotional, or if he could bend reality itself with his charms. But those cherubs? They're definitely up to something shady. The crowd's chants grow louder, and you dodge a stray feather that smells faintly of lavender Olympus doesn't skimp on the fancy bedding. Eros skips closer to Ares, tossing his pillow lightly, almost tauntingly. You? Notice the pillow's golden stitching glows faintly, and your stomach flips. That's no ordinary fluff. Eros must have dipped it in something, maybe that vial you saw. You're dying to know what's in it, but the little god's too quick, dancing out of Ares' reach. Joke 1. Why did Eros bring a pillow to a war? Gods fight? Because he's fluffing with danger. You snort, earning a side-eye from the satyr, who's now betting his lyre on Eros. You lean against a pillar, the stone smooth and cool, and try to piece together Eros' scheme. He's not stronger than Ares, nobody is, but he's clever, and clever wins when brute force fails. You recall a callback to those suspicious pillows from the last section. Their golden glow is back, and now you're sure they're part of the plan. Maybe they're enchanted to make Ares sleepy, or worse, lovesick. You shudder at the thought of Ares mooning over a pillow like it's his soulmate. The cherubs reappear, whispering to Eros, and you catch a glimpse of them stashing more vials behind a curtain. Whatever's in those, it's game-changing. The fight's still in its early stages, but you can feel the tension shifting. Ares is all rage and muscle, his swings sending feathers flying like a flock of startled doves. But Eros, he's a shadow, slipping through the chaos, his every move calculated. You hear Apollo strum a cheeky chord on his lyre, like he's in on the joke, and the crowd roars as Eros lands a playful tap on Ares' shoulder. The war god snarls, but you notice his eyes flicker. Did that pillow hit harder than it looked? You're hooked, your pulse slowing to the ASMR hum of the hall, the soft rustle of feathers lulling you deeper. You take a deep breath, the scent of rosewater from Eros' cologne lingering, and feel your eyelids droop. This is Olympus at its most mischievous, and Eros is playing chess while Ares is playing checkers. You're rooting for the underdog now, but there's a nagging worry. What happens when a war god realizes he's been outsmarted? You glance at the glowing pillow in Eros' hands, its stitches pulsing like a heartbeat, and know the answer's coming soon. For now, you sink into the moment, the crowd's cheers fading to a soft murmur, and let the story carry you like a gentle tide. Asterisk, you're still caught in the whirlwind of Olympus' wildest slumber party, feathers floating around you like a surreal snowstorm. The air's thick with jasmine and the faint tang of Ares' leather armor, and you're pressed against a cool marble pillar, trying not to get hit by a stray pillow. The hall's alive, gods cheering, ambrosia glasses clinking, and you're right in the thick of it, watching this absurd pillow fight unfold. Eros is dodging Ares' swings like a pro, his glowing pillow clutched tight, and you're starting to suspect the love god's got more tricks up his winged sleeves. This section's all about the setup for the god's rowdy bedtime brawl, and you're about to see how Olympus turns a simple pillow fight into a divine spectacle. The hall's a riot of color and sound, with golden torches casting flickering shadows on the walls. You notice the pillows, hundreds of them piled high, like a fluffy fortress, some shimmering with that eerie golden glow you spotted earlier. The gods are sprawled on cloud-soft couches, some lounging, others already picking sides. Apollo's strumming his lyre, hyping the crowd, while Demeter's passing out those forge-puffed popcorn kernels you remember from the first section. Historical fact: ancient Greek festivals, like the Panathenea, often included playful competitions, alongside serious rituals, showing the Greeks loved a good spectacle as much as a sacrifice. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some obscure myths say Olympian parties had a rule where anyone who fell asleep first got doused with nectar sticky, sweet, and totally humiliating. You shift your footing, dodging a nymph who's juggling glow-in-the-dark figs because, yeah, Olympus doesn't do normal snacks. The brawl's about to kick off, but first, the gods are setting the stage. You see Hephaestus, all soot and muscle, dragging in a massive velvet curtain to mark the arena. It's less a fighting ring and more a plushy coliseum, with pillows stacked like barricades. You can't help but chuckle at the absurdity Ares, whose toppled armies, is about to duke it out with bedding. Historians still argue whether the gods' myths were meant to humanize them, or just make mortals feel better about their own bad decisions. But this feels like the gods letting loose. The crowd's buzzing, and you catch snippets of divine gossip. Athena's betting on strategy over strength, whispering to Hermes, who's probably running a side hustle on the odds. Poseidon's grumbling about not getting to flood the place, and you roll your eyes, typical sea god drama. You notice Eros flitting around, his wings stirring a breeze that smells faintly of rosewater, and he's charming everyone. He winks at Aphrodite, who's lounging on a chaise, fanning herself with a peacock feather. You're pretty sure she's in on his plan, especially when she slips him another one of those glowing pillows. Joke 1. Why is Aphrodite such a great party planner? Because she always brings the spark and a spare love potion. You lean closer, the marble pillar cool against your shoulder, and watch the final touches come together. The cherubs from last section are back, scurrying around with those suspicious vials of golden liquid. You're dying to know what's in them. Sleep dust? Love juice? Whatever it is, it's making those pillows glow brighter. You recall the callback to Eros' cunning plan. This is him laying the groundwork, turning a silly fight into his personal chessboard. Eros, meanwhile, is pacing like a caged lion, his pillow gripped like a shield. You can practically hear his thoughts. Smash the kid, win the glory. Poor guy's got no clue he's walking into a trap. The crowd counts down, their voices a rhythmic chant that makes your heart thump. You feel the floor vibrate, like Olympus itself is hyped for the chaos. The pillows are ready, the arena's set, and you're caught in the anticipation, your pulse slowing to the ASMR hum of the hall soft cheers, rustling feathers, the faint clink of ambrosia glasses. Joke 2. Why is Olympus the worst place for a nap? Because even the pillows are plotting against you. You stifle a laugh, earning a grin from a nearby satyr who's now waving a tiny Eros fan flag dot as the countdown hits 0. You brace yourself, the air crackling with divine energy. Feathers are about to fly, and you're front row for the messiest brawl in mythic history. Eros is ready, his glowing pillow raised like a secret weapon, while Ares charges forward, all swagger and no strategy. You sink into the moment, the scent of lavender from the pillows curling around you, and let the story pull you deeper. This is Olympus at its most unhinged, and you're loving every second of it. You're still caught in the electric buzz of Olympus, the hall a swirl of feathers and divine drama. The air's heavy with jasmine, rosewater, and that faint leather and blood whiff from Ares' armor, which he's still wearing like it's a personality trait. You're leaning against a marble pillar, its cool surface grounding you as the crowd roars, pillows poised for chaos. Eros is dancing around, his glowing pillow clutched like a secret weapon, while Ares looms like a storm cloud ready to crush the love god. This section's all about Ares' overconfident swagger, and you're about to see why the god of war thinks he's got this in the bag. Ares strides into the velvet-curtained arena, his boots thudding on the marble floor, like war drums. You can feel the vibration through your soles, each step radiating raw power. He swings his pillow like it's a battle axe, the motion so forceful it sends a gust of lavender-scented air your way. His helm glints under the torchlight, and his grin is all teeth cocky, like he's already picturing Eros flattened under a pile of fluff. Historical fact: Ares was revered in ancient Greece, especially in militaristic Sparta, where his cult celebrated brute strength with rituals involving blood offerings. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some fringe tailies claim Ares once challenged a mortal wrestler to a duel and lost because he tripped over his own spear clumsy for a war god, right? You shift, dodging a stray feather that smells faintly of ambrosia, and watch Ares preen for the crowd. He's soaking up the cheers, flexing muscles that ripple under his bronze skin. The gods are eating it up well, most of them. Athena's rolling her eyes so hard, you're surprised they don't fall out, and Hermes is whispering odds to a nymph, probably rigging the bets. You can't blame Ares for his confidence. He's the guy who storms battlefields, topples armies, and probably bench presses minotaurs for fun. Joke 1. Why is Ares so bad at pillow fights? Because he thinks fluff is a battle cry. You lean closer, the pillar's chill seeping into your back, and catch Ares boasting to Poseidon. This kid's done, he growls, jerking a thumb at Eros, who's twirling his pillow like it's a dance partner. You smirk. Ares is so sure he'll win. He's practically writing his victory speech. But you remember those glowing pillows from the last section, and Eros' sneaky cherubs with their vials. Ares hasn't noticed the golden shimmer on his. opponent's pillow, or the way Eros' wings flutter just a bit too innocently. You're starting to think the war god's swagger is about to crash and burn. Historians still argue whether Ares' myths exaggerate his strength to inspire warriors or downplay his losses to save face. But right now, he's all bravado, no backup plan. The crowd's chants grow louder, a mix of Ares, Ares, and giggles for Eros, who's winking at Aphrodite like he's got this. You notice her slip him another glowing pillow, and your gut twists callback to Eros' cunning plan. Anyone, Ares, oblivious, keeps strutting, tossing his pillow from hand to hand. You can't help but feel a twinge of pity. He's like a bull charging a matador who's already rigged the arena. You glance at the other gods. Apollo's lyre strums a mocking tune, and Demeter's passing out more of that forge-puffed popcorn, which crunches underfoot as a satyr dances by. The vibe's chaotic, but cozy. The ASMR hum of cheers and rustling feathers pulling you deeper into the scene. Ares pauses, scanning the crowd, and his eyes lock on you for a split second. You freeze, heart thumping, but he just smirks, like you're another fan in his hype squad. You roll your eyes. Dude's ego could fill the sticks. Joke 2. Why does Ares always lose at cards? Because he thinks bluff means punching the deck. You stifle a laugh, earning a curious glance from a nymph, juggling glow-in-the-dark figs. The countdown's ticking down again, and you feel the floor pulse with Olympus anticipation. Ares cracks his knuckles, each pop like a thunderclap, and raises his pillow high, ready to obliterate Eros. You sink into the moment, the scent of lavender and rosewater curling around you, your eyelids growing heavy. The hall's a dreamy blur, but you're hooked on Ares' confidence, knowing it's about to be his downfall. Eros is ready, his glowing pillow pulsing like a heartbeat, and you're bracing for the chaos when the fight kicks off. This is Olympus at its most unhinged, and you're right in the thick of it, waiting for the war god to learn he's not as invincible as he thinks. Asterisk, you're still swept up in the dreamy chaos of Olympus. The hall a whirlwind of feathers and divine egos. The air hums with jasmine, ambrosia, and that stubborn leather and blood scent clinging to Ares, who's strutting like he's already won this pillow fight. You're pressed against a marble pillar, its coolness keeping you grounded as the crowd roars. Their cheers a soft SMR lullaby. Eros, the sly love god, is twirling his glowing pillow, wings fluttering with just enough mischief to make you nervous. This section's all about Eros' secret weapon, and you're about to uncover the trickery that's got Ares walking into a fluffy trap. You lean forward, dodging a feather that smells like lavender and something sweeter, maybe rosewater. From Eros cologne. The arena's set, velvet curtains framing a pile of pillows that look too perfect, especially the ones glowing with that golden shimmer you've been side-eyeing since the first section. Eros is clutching one now, its stitches pulsing like a heartbeat, and you're sure it's no ordinary pillow. You catch a glimpse of his cherubs, those sneaky winged sidekicks, darting behind a column with more of those golden vials you spotted earlier. Whatever's in them, it's the key to Eros' plan. Historical fact. In ancient Greek art, Eros was often shown as a mischievous child, but his powers were feared even by gods, with some myths claiming his arrows could rewrite fate itself. Quirky tidbit. A lesser-known story says Eros once enchanted a shepherd's flute, making everyone who heard it fall in love, with goats talk about chaotic neutral. You shift, the marble floor cool under your feet, and watch Eros work the crowd. He's all charm, winking at Aphrodite, who's lounging with a smirk that screams, "I taught him everything." You're pretty sure she's the mastermind behind those glowing pillows. The secret weapon, you figure, is whatever's making them glow. Maybe a love potion, maybe something sleepier, but definitely not just fluff. You recall the callback to Eros' cunning plan from Section 2. Those vials and cherubs are back, and now you're certain they've dosed the pillows with something to tip the scales. Historians still argue whether Eros enchantments were purely psychological or had tangible magical effects. But that pillow? It's giving cursed by Cupid vibes. Eros skips closer to Ares, his pillow raised like a shield, and you notice the glow intensify when it's near the war god. Ares, still swaggering from last section, doesn't clock it. He's too busy flexing for the crowd, his pillow swinging like a club. You can't help but grin. It's like watching a tank roll over a landmine disguised as a daisy. Joke 1. Why's Eros so good at pranks? Because his arrows hit your heart and your common sense. You stifle a chuckle, earning a curious glance from a satyr munching on Demeter's forge-puffed popcorn. You lean against the pillar, its chill seeping into your shoulder, and try to puzzle out the potion. Maybe it's a love spell to make Ares smitten with defeat, or a sleep charm to knock him out cold. You notice the cherubs whispering to Eros, one of them slipping him another glowing pillow. The crowd's chants are a rhythmic hum, part Ares, part giggles for Eros, and you feel the floor vibrate as Olympus leans into the chaos. Apollo's lyre strums a cheeky tune, like he knows what's coming, and you're starting to root for the underdog. Joke 2. Why don't gods use regular pillows? Because Olympus only stocks the extra enchanted kind. The countdown's ticking, and you're braced for the brawl to escalate. Ares charges, his pillow aimed at Eros' head, but the love god dodges, his glowing pillow grazing Ares' arm. You swear you see the war god's eyes flicker? Did he just yawn? You're not sure, but the crowd gasps, and you feel a tingle of anticipation. The ASMR cadence of the hall soft cheers, rustling feathers, the clink of ambrosia glasses pulls. You deeper, your eyelids heavy. You sink into the scent of lavender and rosewater. The glowing pillows light a hypnotic pulse. This is Eros' moment, and you're hooked, waiting to see how his secret weapon flips the script on the god of war. You're still tangled in the dreamy mayhem of Olympus, the hall a swirling haze of feathers and divine antics. The air's thick with jasmine, rosewater, and that ever-present leather and blood scent from Ares, who's charging like a bull, pillow raised to crush Eros. You're leaning against a marble pillar, its coolness anchoring you as the crowd's cheers hum like an ASMR lullaby. Eros, the cunning love god, dances out of reach, his glowing pillow pulsing with that suspicious golden light you've been eyeing since the start. This section's all about the fight kicking off, and you're about to witness feathers explode. In epic, fluffy combat, the countdown hits 0, and the arena erupts. Ares swings his pillow with a roar, the force sending a gust of lavender-scented air that ruffles your hair. Feathers burst like a snowstorm, and you duck as a stray one nearly smacks your face. Eros, light as a breeze, dodges with a twirl, his wings stirring a rosewater-scented draft. His glowing pillow grazes Ares' shoulder, and you swear you see a flicker in the war god's eyes, confusion, maybe, or something softer. Historical fact: ancient Greeks often depicted their gods in athletic contests, like the Olympic Games, which began around 776 BCE, blending divine myths with human competition. Quirky tidbit: some obscure tales claim Olympus had a feather festival where gods threw pillows to settle petty disputes. Basically, divine dodgeball with extra drama. You shift, the marble floor cool under your feet, and watch the chaos unfold. Ares is a whirlwind, his swings wild but powerful, each hit sending pillows exploding into clouds of fluff. You can't help but grin. He's treating this like a siege, not a slumber party. Eros, meanwhile, is all finesse, darting around like a firefly, his glowing pillow landing soft, strategic taps. You recall the callback to Eros' secret weapon from last section. That golden glow is definitely doing something. and Eros hasn't noticed. Historians still argue whether Eros' powers could manipulate emotions or alter physical reality. But those pillows? They're hitting harder than they should. The crowd's a roaring sea of cheers and gasps, with Apollo strumming his lyre like he's scoring the fight. Demeter's forge-puffed popcorn crunches underfoot as a satyr dances by, waving in Eros. Fan flag. You dodge another feather, this one smelling faintly of ambrosia, and lean closer to the action. Eros lands a hit on Ares' chest, and the war god stumbles, not enough to fall, but enough to make the crowd gasp. You notice his swings, slowing like he's fighting through a fog. Joke 1. Why is Ares losing his edge? Because Eros' pillow is fluffing with feelings. You stifle a laugh, earning a wink from a nymph juggling glow-in-the-dark fig's dot. You press against the pillar, its chill seeping into your shoulder, and try to spot Eros' cherubs. They're flitting around the edges, clutching those golden vials you saw before. One sneaks behind Eris, sprinkling something onto a nearby pillow pile, more of that glowing stuff, you bet. The arena's a mess, pillows shredded, feathers blanketing the floor like snow. You feel the floor pulse with Olympus energy, the ASMR hum of cheers and rustling feathers lulling you deeper. Joke 2. Why is this fight so messy? Because Olympus doesn't do machine-washable pillows. Ares roars, shaking off whatever's slowing him, and charges again. Eros dodges, but barely, his wing clipped by a pillow that sends him spinning. The crowd gasps, and you hold your breath. Did Ares finally land a real hit? But Eros recovers, flashing a grin that's all mischief, and retaliates with a glowing pillow to Ares' face. The war god blinks, his expression softening for a split second, like he's remembering a crush. You're hooked, your pulse slowing. To the hall's dreamy cadence, the scent of lavender and rosewater curling around you. This is the fight's fever pitch, and you're bracing for whatever Eros' glowing pillows do next. Asterisk, you're still swept up in the feathery frenzy of Olympus. The hall a chaotic swirl of pillows and divine drama. The air's heavy with jasmine, rosewater, and that stubborn leather and blood whiff from Ares, who's swinging his pillow like it's a warhammer, though his moves are starting to falter. You're pressed against a cool marble pillar, its chill keeping you grounded as the crowd's cheers hum like a sleepy ASMR track. Eros, the sly love god, dances through the chaos, his glowing pillow landing hits that seem to hit Ares harder than they should. This section's all about Ares' tactical blunder, and you're about to cringe as the war god underestimates his pint-sized opponent. The arena's a fluffy battlefield, feathers blanketing the floor like a lavender-scented snowdrift. Ares charges again, his boots thudding on the marble, each step shaking the ground under your feet. He's all muscle and rage, but you notice his swings are sloppy now, like he's fighting through a haze. That glowing pillow Eros keeps smacking him with? It's doing something, and Ares is too stubborn to clock it. Historical fact. Ares was often portrayed in Greek myths as impulsive, rushing into battles without strategy, which led to losses like his defeat by Athena in the Iliad. Quirky tidbit. Some fringe stories claim Ares once got stuck in a bronze jar for 13 months because he didn't check for Trapp's classic war god brain fart. You shift, dodging a G, feather that smells faintly of ambrosia, and watch Ares make his big mistake. He's so sure of his strength, he's ignoring Eros' agility, and those suspicious glowing pillows you've been tracking since Section 1. He lunges, aiming a massive swing at Eros' head, but the love god ducks, letting Eros' momentum carry him straight into a pile of pillows. The crowd gasps as he stumbles, feathers exploding around him like a cartoon dust cloud. You can't help but wince. This is Ares, the guy who's supposed to be unstoppable, tripping over bedding. Historians still argue whether Ares' myths exaggerated his losses to make other gods look better or to teach mortals about hubris. But right now, he's eating fluff. Eros seizes the moment, twirling his glowing pillow and landing a soft butt. Deliberate hit on Ares' back. The war god's eyes flicker again, like he's caught in a daydream, and you're starting to suspect those pillows are laced with more than just divine thread. You recall the callback to Eros' secret weapon from Section 5. Those cherubs with their golden vials are still lurking, and you spot one sprinkling more of that glowing stuff onto a nearby pillow. Joke 1. Why's Ares losing so bad? Because he thought pillow fight meant pillow annihilation. You stifle a chuckle, earning a grin from a satyr munching on Demeter's forge-puffed popcorn. You lean closer, the pillar's coolness seeping into your shoulder, and watch Ares try to recover. He shakes his head, snarling, and grabs a new pillow, but his movements are sluggish, like he's wading through honey. The crowd's cheers shift more giggles for Eros now, fewer chants for Ares. Apollo's lyre strums a mocking tune, and Aphrodite's smirking from her chaise, fanning herself with that peacock feather. You're pretty sure she's orchestrating this with Eros, especially when she winks at a cherub who's restocking the glowing pillow pile. The arena's a mess, pillows shredded, feathers sticking to your hair, but the SMR hum of the hall soft cheers, rustling fluff pulls you deeper into the scene. Ares roars, trying to rally, but his next swing misses Eros by a mile. The love god darts in, landing another glowing pillow hit to Ares' chest, and you swear you see the war god blush. You're hooked, your pulse slowing to the dreamy cadence of the fight, a scent of lavender and rosewater curling around. You joke too. Why's Ares so off his game? Because Eros' pillows are stuffed with war god kryptonite. The crowd's energy is electric but cozy, and you're bracing for Ares' next blunder, knowing Eros is playing him like a liar. This is Olympus at its most chaotic, and you're loving the front row seat to the war god's fluff-fueled downfall. You're still lost in the feathery chaos of Olympus, the hall a whirlwind of pillows and divine drama. The air's thick with jasmine, rosewater, and that lingering leather and blood scent from Ares, who's staggering now, his swings growing. Clumsier with every glowing pillow hit from Eros, you're leaning against a marble pillar, its coolness grounding you as the crowd's cheers hum like a soothing ASMR lullaby. Eros, the crafty love god, dances through the arena, his glowing, pillow-landing soft but devastating taps that have Ares looking more confused than angry. This section's all about Eros' charm offensive, and you're about to marvel at how the love god's sly, love-struck strategy turns the tide. The arena's a fluffy war zone, feathers blanketing the floor like a lavender-scented snowstorm. Eros twirls his glowing pillow, its golden stitches pulsing brighter with every hit. You notice Ares' eyes soften each time he's struck, like he's caught in a daydream instead of a brawl. Eros isn't just fighting, he's weaving a spell, and you're starting to see the genius of his plan. Historical fact, Eros was revered in ancient Greece, not just for love, but for his ability to disrupt order, with cults in Thespia honoring him as a force of chaotic passion. Quirky tidbit, some obscure myths claim Eros once made a flock of sparrows fall in love with a cloud, causing a rainstorm of heart-shaped droplets speak love god nonsense. You shift, dodging a feather that smells faintly of ambrosia, and watch Eros lean into his charm offensive. He's not just dodging Ares' swings. He's flirting with the crowd, winking at nymphs, and blowing kisses to Aphrodite, who's lounging with a grin that screams, "That's my boy." Every move is calculated, his glowing pillow landing hits that seem to sap Ares' rage and replace it with what? Affection. You recall the callback to Eros' secret weapon from Section 5. Those golden vials the cherubs were sneaking around with are definitely in play, and you're betting they're packed with a love potion or something dreamier. Historians still argue whether Eros' powers could genuinely alter a god's nature or just amplify their emotions. But Ares? He's looking like he might propose to a pillow any second. Eros darts in, landing a glowing pillow hit to Ares' chest, and the war god stumbles, his snarl melting into a dopey grin. You can't believe it, Ares, the guy who'd punch a mountain for fun, is blushing like a mortal teenager. The crowd gasps, then giggles, and you feel the energy shift. Apollo's lyre strums a cheeky love ballad, and Demeter's forge-puffed popcorn crunches underfoot as a satyr starts a Eros. Eros! Chant. Joke 1. Why is Ares so smitten? Because Eros' pillow is stuffed with heart-shaped havoc. You stifle a laugh, earning a wink from a nymph, juggling glow in the dark fakes. You lean closer, the pillar's chill seeping into your shoulder, and spot the cherubs at work again. One sneaks behind a pillow pile, sprinkling more golden dust from a vial, and you're sure now. Those pillows are enchanted to make Ares fall in love with losing. Eros is playing 4D chess, using charm and trickery to unravel the war god's defenses. You notice Aphrodite whispering to a cherub, probably topping up the potion supply, and you grin she's the puppet master behind this fluffy coup. Arena's a mess, pillows shredded, feathers sticking to your hair, but the ASMR hum of cheers and rustling fluff pulls you deeper into the scene. Ares swings again, but it's half-hearted, his pillow barely grazing Eros' wing. The love god retaliates with a glowing pillow to Ares' face, and you swear you hear the war god sigh dreamily. The crowd's roaring now, fully on Eros' side, and you're hooked, your pulse slowing to the hall's dreamy cadence. Joke 2. Why's Eros winning? Because he's got Ares love-struck and pillow-stuck. A scent of lavender and rosewater curls around you, and you're bracing for the next phase of Eros' plan, knowing Ares is one hit away from total fluff-fueled surrender. This is Olympus at its sneakiest, and you're loving every second of the love god's masterclass in chaos. Asterisk, you're still enveloped in the feathery madness of Olympus, the hall a dreamy chaos of pillows and divine egos. The air's heavy with jasmine, rosewater, and that faint leather and blood tang from Ares, who's now swaying like a lovesick giant, his warlike snarl softened by Eros' glowing pillow hits. You're pressed against a marble pillar, its coolness anchoring you as the crowd's cheers hum like a soothing ASMR whisper. Eros, the cunning love god, dances through the arena, his glowing pillow landing taps that turn Ares' rage into something dangerously close to adoration. This section's all about Olympus cheering and jeering, and you're about to hear the gods take sides in this fluffy fiasco. The arena's a lavender-scented battlefield, feathers drifting like snowflakes in a storm. You watch the crowd, a sea of divine faces lit by torchlight, their reactions swinging from shock to glee. Apollo's lyre strums a mocking love tune, each note egging on Eros, while Athena's leaning forward, her owl perched on her shoulder, analyzing every move like it's a chess match. Poseidon's grumbling, probably mad he didn't get to flood the place, but even he's chuckling as Ares stumbles. Historical fact. Ancient Greek myths often showed gods as a dysfunctional family, bickering and picking sides, much like mortals, with festivals like the Dionysia featuring plays that poked fun at their rivalries. Quirky tidbit. Some fringe tailies claim Olympus had a betting pool for divine contests, with Hermes once losing his winged sandals over a bet on a turtle race classic trickster fail. You shift, dodging a feather that smells faintly of ambrosia, and catch the crowd's shifting loyalties. The Ares chants from earlier are fading, replaced by giggles and shouts for Eros. Demeter's passing out more of that forge-puffed popcorn, which crunches underfoot as a satyr waves and Eros fan flag. You recall the callback to Eros' charm offensive from last section. His glowing pillows are working overtime, and the gods are eating it up. Aphrodite's the loudest cheerleader, lounging on her chaise and clapping every time Eros lands a hit, her peacock feather fan fluttering like she's conducting the chaos. Historians still argue whether the gods' myths were meant to reflect human flaws, or just entertain with divine soap opera drama. But this crowd? They're here for the tea. You lean closer, the pillar's chill seeping into your shoulder, and spot Hermes whispering to a nymph, probably updating the odds. He's got a scroll out, scribbling bets, and you're tempted to join in. Eros is clearly the smart money. The cherubs are still at it, sneaking around with those golden vials, sprinkling dust on pillow piles, and you're sure they're keeping the enchantment flowing. Joke 1. Why's the crowd so hyped? Because Olympus loves a good fluff upset. You stifle a chuckle, earning a grin from a nymph, juggling glow-in-the-dark figs. Ares swings his pillow, but it's a weak effort, and Eros dodges with a twirl, landing a glowing pillow hit to the war god's chest. Ares sighs, his eyes dreamy, and the crowd erupts, half cheering for Eros, half jeering Ares' downfall. You feel the floor pulse with Olympus energy, the ASMR hum of cheers, rustling feathers, and clinking ambrosia glasses pulling you deeper. Athena shouts something about strategy, while Poseidon heckles Ares for losing to a winged kid. You're starting to root for Eros, but there's a twinge of pity for Ares, who's now the punchline of this divine roast. Joke 2. Why's Ares the crowd's new joke? Because he's getting pillow-punned in public. The scent of lavender and rosewater curls around you, and you sink into the moment, your eyelids heavy. The hall's a dreamy blur, but you're hooked on the gods' reactions, their cheers and jeers. Weaving a tapestry of divine drama, Eros is basking in the attention, his glowing pillow raised like a trophy, while Ares looks one hit away from collapsing into a lovesick heap. You're bracing for the next twist, knowing Olympus is loving every second of this fluffy carnage. Asterisk. You're still caught in the fluffy pandemonium of Olympus, the hall a dreamy swirl of feathers and divine drama. The air's thick with jasmine, rosewater, and that fading leather and blood scent from Ares, who's now wobbling like a punch drunk. Titan, his warlike fury unraveling under Eros' glowing pillow strikes. You're leaning against a marble pillar, its coolness grounding you, as the crowd's cheers hum like a sleepy ASMR melody. Eros, the sly love god, dances through the chaos, his glowing pillow landing hits that turn Ares into a blushing mess. This section's all about Ares' rage unraveling spectacularly, and you're about to feel the war god's frustration boil over in a way that's equal parts epic and embarrassing. The arena's a lavender-scented war zone, feathers blanketing, the floor like a plush blizzard. Ares stumbles, his pillow swinging wildly, but missing Eros by a mile. His face is red, not from effort, but from whatever enchantment those glowing pillows are packing. You can feel the heat of his frustration, like a furnace ready to blow, and it's clear he's losing it. Historical fact. In Greek mythology, Ares was often depicted as emotionally volatile, with texts like the Iliad showing him throwing tantrums when outsmarted, like when Athena bested him in battle. Quirky tidbit, some obscure stories claim Eros once rage cried so hard he flooded a valley, creating a lake mortals called War God's Tears. Dramatic, even for him. You shift, dodging a feather that smells faintly of ambrosia, and watch Ares' meltdown unfold. He roars, a sound that shakes the hall's marble walls, and hurls his pillow at Eros, but it sails over the love god's head and smacks a satyr in the face. The crowd bursts into laughter, and you wince. Ares is falling apart, and everyone's watching. You recall the callback to Eros' charm offensive from Section 8. Those glowing pillows are turning Ares' rage into something softer. But now his frustration is fighting back, making him reckless. Historians still argue whether Eros Myths exaggerated his temper to caution against unchecked anger, or to make other gods look cooler. But right now, he's a walking tantrum. Eros, ever the showman, twirls his glowing pillow and lands a soft hit to Ares' shoulder. The war god's snarl melts into a confused grunt, and you swear you see him mutter something like pretty feathers. The crowd's jeers grow louder, with Poseidon heckling, "Lost to a pillow, war boy?" You can't help but grin. This is Eros, the guy who'd fistfight a cyclops, unraveling because of enchanted fluff. Joke 1. Why's Ares so mad? Because he's losing to a pillow and his feelings. You stifle a chuckle, earning a nod from a nymph, juggling glow-in-the-dark figs. You lean closer, the pillar's chill seeping into your shoulder, and spot the cherubs sneaking around, sprinkling more golden dust from those vials you've been tracking since Section 2. They're keeping the enchantment strong, and Ares is too furious to notice. His next swing is a desperate lunge, but Eros dodges, letting Ares crash into a pillow pile. Feathers explode, sticking to his armor, and the crowd roars with laughter. Apollo's lyre strums a mocking tune, and Aphrodite's clapping like she's at a theater premiere. The ASMR hum of cheers, rustling feathers, and clinking ambrosia glasses pulls you deeper, your pulse slowing to the hall's dreamy cadence. Ares scrambles up, his helm askew, and you feel a pang of pity. He's a mess, but he's still fighting. He grabs another pillow, but his hands shake, like he's torn between rage and whatever lovesick haze Eros is weaving. Joke 2. Why's Ares a feathered wreck? Because Eros turned his war cry into a love sigh. The scent of lavender and rosewater curls around you, and you sink into the moment, your eyelids heavy. The hall's a blurry whirl of fluff and chaos, but you're hooked on Ari's unraveling, knowing Eros is one step away from sealing this fluffy victory. This is Olympus at its messiest, and your front row for the war god's spectacular. Crash. Asterisk, you're still immersed in the feathery whirlwind of Olympus, the hall a dreamy chaos of pillows and divine drama. The air hums with jasmine, rosewater, and the fading leather and blood scent from Eros, who's now a stumbling, lovesick shadow of his warlike self. Feathers clinging to his armor like a badge of defeat. You're pressed against a marble pillar, its coolness anchoring you as the crowd's cheers hum like a soothing ASMR lullaby. Eros, the cunning love god, dances through the arena, his glowing pillow pulsing with enchanted light, each hit pushing Ares closer to collapse. This section's all about Eros' final blow, and you're about to gasp as the love god lands the winning strike in this fluffy fiasco. The arena's a lavender-scented mess, feathers blanketing the floor like a plush snowstorm. Ares sways, his pillow dangling from one hand, his eyes glazed with whatever enchantment Eros' glowing pillows are dishing out. You can feel the tension, like the air before a lightning strike, as Eros circles his opponent, wings fluttering, with mischievous glee. Historical fact: Eros, known as Cupid in Roman myths, was often depicted as a force of irresistible power, with texts like Sappho's poetry describing his influence as both sweet and destructive. Quirky tidbit: some obscure Greek tales claim Eros once enchanted a river to flow backward, just to mess with a fisherman who insulted love petty. But iconic. You shift, dodging a feather that smells faintly of ambrosia, and watch Eros prepare. His final move. He's not rushing. He's savoring the moment, twirling his glowing pillow like a matador with a cape. You recall the callback to Eros' charm offensive from Section 8. Those glowing pillows, laced with golden dust from the cherub's vials, have turned Ares into a lovesick wreck. Now, Eros is ready to seal the deal. Historians still argue whether Eros' powers could truly overpower a god like Ares, or if his victories were more about cunning than magic. But that pillow? It's about to end this fight. Eros darts in, his wings stirring a rosewater-scented, breathes and lands a soft, deliberate hit to Ares' chest. The glowing pillow pulses brighter, and Ares freezes, his expression a mix of confusion and adoration. The crowd holds its breath, and you lean forward, heart thumping, as Ares sways, then drops to one knee with a thud that shakes the marble floor. Feathers explode around him, and the hall erupts in cheers. You gasp Eros did it. The love god's final blow wasn't brute force. It was pure, enchanted finesse. Joke 1. Why'd Ares fall? Because Eros' pillow was a knockout with a side of hard eyes. You stifle a laugh, earning a grin from a satyr waving an Eros fan flag. You lean closer, the pillar's chill seeping into your shoulder, and spot the cherubs high-fiving behind a pillow pile. Their golden vials are empty now, their work done. Aphrodite's on her feet, clapping wildly, her peacock feather fan fluttering like a victory flag. Apollo's lyre struns a triumphant chord, and even Athena's nodding, impressed by Eros. Strategy. The arena's erect pillows shredded, feathers sticking to everything, but the SMR hum of cheers, rustling fluff, and clinking ambrosia glasses pulls you deeper into the scene. You feel the floor pulse with Olympus energy, your pulse slowing to the hall's dreamy cadence. Ares is still on one knee, staring at the glowing pillow like it's his new best friend. You almost feel bad for him, but the crowd's too hyped for pity. Poseidon's heckling, lost to a kid with wings, while Demeter's passing out more forge-puffed popcorn, which crunches underfoot. Joke 2. Why's Eros the champ? Because he turned Ares' war zone into a love zone. The scent of lavender and rosewater curls around you, and you sink into. The moment, your eyelids heavy. The hall's a blurry whirl of fluff and triumph, but you're hooked on Eros' victory, knowing this is the moment Olympus will gossip about for centuries. You're bracing for the aftermath, ready to see how the gods react to this fluffy upset. You're still floating in the dreamy aftermath of Olympus' wildest pillow fight. The hall a hazy swirl of feathers and divine chatter. The air's thick with jasmine, rosewater, and a faint trace of Ares' leather and blood scent, now softened by his defeat. You're leaning against a marble pillar, its coolness grounding you as the crowd's cheers fade into a soothing SMR murmur. Eros stands triumphant, his glowing pillow raised like a trophy, while Ares kneels in a pile of feathers, staring at the floor like he's rethinking his entire war god career. This section's all about the aftermath unfolding, and you're about to wander Olympus amid the post-fight gossip that's buzzing like a hive of divine bees. The arena's a lavender-scented wreck, pillows shredded, feathers sticking to everything, including your hair. You brush one off, its ambrosia scent tickling your nose, and step away from the pillar, weaving through the crowd. The gods are abuzz, their voices a mix of whispers and cackles as they dissect Eros' victory. Aphrodite's holding court on her chaise, fanning herself with that peacock feather and smirking like she planned the whole thing, which, let's be honest, she probably did. Historical fact. Ancient Greek myths often used divine contests to reflect social dynamics, with figures like Aphrodite wielding influence through charm, as seen in the Judgment of Paris, where she sparked the Trojan War with a golden apple. Quirky tidbit, some fringe tailies claim Olympus had a gossip scroll, updated by nymphs, that once leaked Zeus' secret crush on a mortal swan scandalous, even by god standards. You wander closer to a group of nymphs, their glow-in-the-dark figs, forgotten as they giggle over Ares' downfall. Did you see him blush? One says, mimicking Ares' lovesick sigh. You grin, recalling the callback to Eros' final blow from last section. Those glowing pillows turned the war god into a feathered mess, and now Olympus is eating it up. Historians still argue whether myths like this were meant to humanize gods or warn mortals against pride. But the gossip here? It's pure, unfiltered shade. You overhear Hermes, ever the hustler, settling bets with the satyr, his scroll now marked with Eros wins in bold. The hall's energy is shifting, less chaotic, more conspiratorial, as gods and creatures cluster. To swap theories, was it just the pillows, or did Eros have help? You spot the cherubs, now lounging on a pillow pile, their golden vials tucked away, and you're sure they were Aphrodite's secret weapon. Apollo's lyre strums a soft, teasing tune, like he's already composing a ballad about Ares fluff-fueled. Flop. You pause near Demeter, who's passing out forge-puffed popcorn, its crunch blending with the ASMR hum of whispers and rustling feathers. Joke 1. Why is Olympus buzzing? Because Ares' defeat is the fluffiest tea in centuries. You stifle a chuckle, earning a nod from a nymph who's now braiding feathers into her hair. You drift toward the arena's edge, the marble floor cool. Under your feet, and catch Poseidon muttering to Athena about enchanted nonsense. She's analyzing the fight like a general, muttering about strategy, while he just wants to flood something to feel better. You feel the floor pulse with Olympus' lingering excitement, your pulse slowing to the hall's dreamy cadence. The scent of lavender and rosewater curls around you, and you sink deeper into the gossip, your eyelids heavy. Joke 2. Why is the gossip so juicy? Because Eros turned Hera's war cry into a love sigh for the ages. Eros is basking in the attention, perched on a column, twirling a feather like a victory cigar. Ares, meanwhile, is still kneeling, ignored by the crowd as they move on to hotter topics. You almost feel bad for him, but the god's chatter is too delicious to resist. The hall's a blurry whirl of fluff and whispers, and you're hooked. Wandering through the divine tea, knowing this story will echo in Olympus halls forever. You're bracing for what comes next, curious how Ares will handle his humbling, and what Eros does with his win. Asterisk, you're still drifting through the gossipy haze of Olympus, the hall a dreamy blur of feathers and divine whispers. The airs, soft with jasmine, rosewater, and just a hint of Ares' leather and blood scent. Now faint as he kneels in a feathered heap, the crowd's attention long shifted to Eros' victory. You're wandering away from the marble pillar, its coolness lingering on your skin, as the god's chatter hums like a soothing ASMR lullaby. Eros is perched on a column, twirling a feather and soaking up the praise, while the arena lies in. Ruins pillows shredded, feathers everywhere. This section's all about Ares' grudging lesson, and you're about to see the war god reflect on his humbling defeat with a mix of salt and reluctant growth. You step carefully, avoiding a pile of ambrosia-scented feathers, and find a spot near the arena's edge where Ares is finally stirring. He's alone now, the crowd too busy gossiping from last section to notice him haul himself up, his armor clinking softly. His helm's askew, feathers stuck to it like a bad costume, and his face is a storm of emotions: anger, shame, and something softer, like he's piecing together what hit him. Historical fact: in Greek mythology, Ares was often portrayed as a cautionary figure. His losses in texts like the Iliad, teaching that brute force without wisdom leads to failure, as when Athena outsmarted him. Quirky tidbit: some obscure myths claim Eros once sulked for a year after losing a chariot race to Hermes, refusing to fight until Zeus bribed him with a new Spear Peak war god bout. You lean against a nearby column, its marble cool against your shoulder, and watch Ares mutter to himself, kicking a pillow that bursts into more feathers. He's not raging like before. This is quieter, like he's wrestling with the fact that Eros, the winged kid he underestimated, schooled him with enchanted fluff. You recall the callback to Eros' final blow from section 11. Those glowing pillows, laced with whatever was in the cherub's golden vials, turned Ares' strength into a lovesick stumble. Historians still argue whether Ares' myths were meant to warn against arrogance or just make him the god's punching bag. But right now, he's learning the hard way that swagger doesn't win pillow fights. Ares slumps onto a couch, ignoring a nymph who's still giggling over his defeat. You catch a glimpse of his eyes still fiery, but there's a flicker of respect, maybe for Eros' cunning. He grabs a stray feather, twirling it like he's trying to decode its magic, and you can almost hear his thoughts. How did I lose to that? The hall's gossip swirls around you, but Ares is in his own world, reflecting on how his tactical blunder from Section 7 charging in blind left him open to Eros' charm offensive. Joke 1. Why is Ares so quiet? Because he's learning fluff beats fury the hard way. You stifle a chuckle, earning a glance from a satyr munching on Demeter's forge-puffed popcorn. You shift, the marble floor cool under your feet, and notice Aphrodite watching Eros from her chaise, her smirk softened into something like pity. She's probably thrilled her son won, but even she knows a humbled war god is a rare sight. Apollo's lyre strums a gentle tune now, less mocking, like he's giving Ares space to process. The ASMR hum of whispers, rustling feathers, and clinking. Ambrosia glasses pulls you deeper, your pulse slowing to the hall's dreamy cadence. You feel a pang for Ares. He's a mess, but he's trying to grow from this, even if it's grudgingly. Joke 2. Why is Ares rethinking life? Because Eros' pillows gave him a crash course in humility. The scent of lavender and rosewater curls around you, and you sink into the moment, your eyelids heavy. The hall's a blurry whirl of fluff and quiet reflection, and you're hooked. On Ares' struggle, watching him grapple with a lesson he never saw coming. Eros is still the star, but this is Ares' quiet moment, a war god forced to admit he's not invincible. You're bracing for the next chapter, curious how Olympus moves on from this upset and what Eros does with his newfound glory. You're still wandering through the dreamy glow of Olympus, the hall a soft haze of feathers and fading divine drama. The air hums with jasmine, rosewater, and the barest trace of Ares' leather and blood scent. Now just a memory as he slinks off to lick his wounds. You're drifting through the crowd, the marble floor cool under your feet as the god's chatter softens into a soothing ASMR murmur. Eros, the victorious love god, is the center of attention, perched on a column, twirling. A feather like a rock star with a mic. This section's all about Eros' victory lap, and you're about to join his cheeky celebration with Aphrodite, who's basking in her son's triumph like it's her own. The arena's a lavender-scented ruin, pillows shredded, feathers blanketing everything like a plush snowfall. You brush one off your shoulder, its ambrosia scent lingering, and weave toward Eros, who's now surrounded by adoring nymphs and satyrs. He's all grins, his wings fluttering just enough to stir a rosewater breeze, and you can't help but smile. He's earned this moment. Historical fact. Eros was celebrated in ancient Greece as a primal force, with philosophers like Plato debating his role in uniting souls, as seen in the symposium's discussions of love's power. Quirky tidbit. Some obscure myths claim Eros once shot an arrow at a star, making it fall in love with the moon and creating a meteor shower romantic chaos. His specialty. You pause near Aphrodite's chaise, where she's holding court, her peacock feather fan fluttering like a royal decree. She's glowing figuratively, and maybe literally praising Eros, like he's just won the divine Olympics. My boy, she coos, loud enough for the hall to hear, and you're sure she's taking credit for his glowing pillow trick. You recall the callback to Eros' final blow from Section 11. Those enchanted pillows, powered by the cherub's golden vials, were probably her idea, and now she's milking the victory. Historians still argue whether Aphrodite's myths exaggerated her influence, or if she truly pulled strings behind every divine upset. But here, she's the proudest mom in Olympus. Eros hops down, landing with a flourish, and tosses a feather to a nymph, who squeals like she's caught a bouquet. The crowd still buzzing from the gossip in Section 12. But now it's all praise for Eros, his cunning, his charm, his fluff-fueled genius. Apollo's lyre strums a celebratory tune, and Demeter's passing out forge-puffed popcorn. Its crunch blending with the ASMR hum of cheers and rustling feathers. You spot the cherubs lounging on a pillow pile, their vials empty, looking smug, as only winged sidekicks can. Joke 1. Why is Eros the party king? Because he turned a pillow fight into a love revolution. You stifle a chuckle, earning a wink from a satyr waving an Eros fan flag. You drift closer, the scent of rosewater wrapping around you, and catch Eros whispering to Aphrodite. They're plotting something, maybe a victory prank, maybe just more. Ambrosia. The hall's energy is warm, triumphant, like a festival after a hard-won battle. You feel the floor pulse with Olympus joy, your pulse slowing to the dreamy cadence of clinking glasses and soft laughter. Even Athena's smiling, muttering about strategic brilliance, while Poseidon's grumbling but toasting Eros anyway. Joke 2. Why is Aphrodite so smug? Because her son's win is her personal brand glow up. You sink into the moment, your eyelids heavy, the hall a blurry whirl of fluff and celebration. Eros raises a glass, where'd he get that? And toasts the crowd, his voice all honey and mischief. To love and to pillows. He cheers, and the gods roar back, feathers. Flying. You're hooked, swept up in the love god's charisma, knowing this victory lap will be Olympus' favorite story for eons. Ares is forgotten, his lesson from last section a quiet footnote, while Eros and Aphrodite steal the spotlight. You're bracing for the final moments, curious how Olympus winds down from this chaotic high. Asterisk, you're still basking in the warm, dreamy glow of Olympus, the hall now a soft, feathery haven as the divine party winds down. The air hums with jasmine, rosewater, and the faintest echo of ambrosia, the chaos of the pillow fight settling into a gentle hum. You're drifting through the crowd, the marble floor cool beneath your feet, as the gods' laughter and chatter fade into a soothing ASMR whisper. Eros, fresh off his victory lap from last section, lounges with Aphrodite, both glowing with triumph, while feathers still float lazily around you. This section's all about Olympus drifting to sleep, and you're about to linger as the gods settle into their dreams, the night wrapping them in a tranquil haze. The arena is a lavender-scented ruin, pillows scattered like falling clouds, feathers blanketing the floor. You step carefully, brushing an ambrosia-scented feather from your shoulder, and find a quiet corner near a flickering torch. The gods are easing into a softer mood, their energy spent on cheers and gossip. Aphrodite's chaise is now a cozy nest, where she's braiding Eros' hair, whispering something that makes him giggle. Historical fact: ancient Greeks often ended festivals with rituals to honor sleep and dreams. Believing gods like Hypnos, the personification of sleep, blessed mortals with restful nights. Quirky tidbit: some fringe myths claim Hypnos once lulled Zeus to sleep with a feather enchanted by Eros. Letting Hera pull off a divine prank sleep's a powerful player in Olympus. You lean against a column, its marble cool against your back, and watch the hall transform. The torches dim, casting a golden glow, and Apollo's lyre strums a lullaby, each note slow and hypnotic. You recall the callback to the post-fight gossip from Section 12. The buzz has faded, replaced by yawns and soft murmurs. Historians still argue whether myths about divine rest were meant to mirror human needs or elevate sleep as a sacred act. But here, the gods are embracing it. Even Athena, usually all strategy, is curled up on a couch, her owl snoozing on her shoulder. You smile. Olympus is finally calming down. The cherubs, those sneaky vial wielders, are nestled in a pillow pile, their wings twitching as they dream. You wonder if they're replaying Eros' win or scheming new pranks. Demeter's forge puffed, Popcorn is gone, replaced by trays of nectar that shimmer like starlight, passed by nymphs who hum softly. Joke 1. Why is Olympus so sleepy? Because Eros' pillows left everyone dream drunk. You stifle a chuckle, earning a drowsy nod from a satyr, his Eros fan flag now a blanket. The ASMR hum of rustling feathers, clinking glasses, and Apollos. Gentle strumming pulls you deeper, your pulse slowing to the hall's tranquil cadence. You drift toward the arena's edge, where Ares, humbled in section 13, is slumped on a couch, snoring softly, a feather stuck to his cheek. You almost laugh he's at peace, maybe dreaming of battles he'll actually win. The scent of lavender and rosewater curls around you, and you sink into the moment, your eyelids heavy. Joke 2. Why is the hall so quiet? Because even gods can't resist a fluffy lullaby. The floor pulses faintly, Olympus settling into slumber, and you feel the night's embrace. Soft and inevitable wind down you linger in the hall, the air now a whisper of jasmine and starlight. The gods are dreaming, their breaths slow, their rivalries forgotten. You imagine Eros curled up, his wings folded, dreaming of new mischief, while Aphrodite hums a lullaby only a love goddess could know. The torches fade to embers, and the feathers settle, each one a tiny promise of rest. You're safe here, wrapped in Olympus glow, the world outside far away. Let your thoughts drift, soft as those pillows, and feel the night carry you. The gods sleep, and so can you, cradled by the story's end. Close your eyes, let the hum of this night linger, and slip into dreams as gentle as a feather's touch.